the biggest thing for us is to try and gather someone's trust, because they come and meet you, and the first thing is they naturally don't want to trust you because of the reputation that agents have nationwide. And I think with reputation takes a long time to build, and hopefully we've done that over 45 years and aim to continue doing that.
Hi there, I'm Matt Stahl, and welcome to the Super Prime Property Show, where we discuss the world of super prime real estate by talking with leading designers, architects, developers, and agents. This podcast aims to explore the intricacies of the industry, delving into conversations that hopefully inspire, inform, and entertain. Before we get started, please could I ask a favour? If you're not already, could you hit the subscribe button and give us a follow? You can find us on Instagram at Super Prime Property Show. Thank you. Today on the show, we have Bertie Russell, who is the managing director of Russell Simpson. Russell Simpson are truly an estate agency like no other. Founded back in 1979 by Bertie's father, Alan. It's grown to become one of the most respected and highly regarded agencies in town. They've sold and let property in their thousands, and some of which are truly iconic pieces of real estate. And with no less than 9 family members working in the business today, they are certainly unique. I'm really excited to hear from Bertie how they keep the wheels on an operation like that and how they can keep delivering organic growth in such an ultra-competitive market. All right, Bertie, good to see you, mate.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So much ground to cover with Russell Simpson. My
dad started it 45 years ago. I got a note on our HR system saying one of your colleagues is celebrating their 45th work anniversary this month. He started it. My mum was there for 10 years. I'm one of 6 kids.
Yeah.
5 of us have worked there all 6 of us have worked there over the course of the last 15 years. And in the last 8 or 9 years, what's happened? I mean, a lot's happened. COVID's happened. Brexit's happened.
The estate agency game has changed.
It's changed completely. I'm fascinated to see what's going to happen in the future. I think what Sotheby's are doing at the moment is everyone's watching with interest.
Let's get into that. I mean, it just came out of nowhere. So you just started seeing on LinkedIn all these agents getting poached that you knew from Frank Savills.
It's like the sort of Premier League transfer season.
Exactly.
And the numbers we're hearing are just crazy.
You mean they're getting paid?
They're getting paid a lot.
Yeah.
Well, but it's all rumour, but that's that sounds like they're getting paid a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, there hasn't been this kind of shake-up ever, I don't think. I think Knight Frank and Savills have been the dominant players for years and years and years. And Sotheby's are coming in with, I mean, the guy, I haven't met him yet, but the guy who owns it, runs it, this franchise is the owner of the Dubai franchise.
Yeah.
And they've obviously done really, really well in Dubai, and bringing some of that money and expertise to London to see if they can shake it up.
Yeah.
And I mean, we love it. Love a bit of a shake up.
Yeah.
It's a very traditional industry.
Would you say it's like more of like a sort of US style?
More US.
Shake up, more focused on the agent themselves than...
Yeah, I think, a lot of people have now seen all the US real estate shows selling sunsets.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's, to me, that's what it looks like in Dubai. And it's such early days for Sotheby's here, but they're definitely going to bring more of that here, more of the broker style.
Yeah.
Agent characters.
Definitely. Because I mean, you guys, I saw something on your understated, independent and discreet. That's literally,
very different.
Literally the opposite, to that. But that, it's stood you guys in such great stead for so many years, and I'm sure it will continue.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I think there's a place for a wide variety of people in our industry, and we'll see. I mean, we've been steadily growing over the last 45 years. The last 3 to 5 years, we've seen major growth. We've gone from 14 people to 35 people in the last 3 years.
Wow.
And we've got some incredible people that we work with.
But it is a people business.
Complete people business. I think there's a lot of people that I chat to who are either new to the game or see it from the outside, friends, or people new coming in, they're all amazed by the properties that we see and the glitz and the glamour and the prices, and they're shocked that there are people that are going to pay these kind of prices.
Yeah.
I think once you've been doing it quite a long time, the properties are still incredible, but really it's the people that make it so special.
If you look at some of the shakeups as well, you also had that period a few years ago when it was all about the online model, like Purple Bricks. And I say, oh, we don't need people to sell it. I can just put it online and hope for the best. And I think that works maybe mass market. Well, it didn't actually, but it could work mass market. But when you're sort of working in the super prime sector, which you guys very much are, it's a completely different game.
Yeah, I think AI is a massive talking point at the moment. Technology has obviously been a huge talking point for the last however many years, and I think everyone's got their eye out for how our industry is going to be affected. I get tens of emails a day from AI companies trying to sell us some kind of way to improve or improve our business operations. I think there could be some shake-ups to it at the more mass market level, as you say, but still the top end, it's really people, it's trust, relationships,
and knowledge.
I think the knowledge part is easier to learn now because it's so widely available on the internet.
And you mean like things like LonRes and all that, getting all the historical data that you need? Yeah,
LonRes, land registry. These things are so much easier to find out. I think when we go, if you were to look at our website, things for sale under 10 million, pretty much everything is online now. But above 10 million, I would say you'll probably find about 20% of available properties above 10 million on the open market online. So if you want to buy a house or a flat above 10 million, you need to know someone.
Really? 20%?
I reckon 20%.
Okay.
And there are many, many more buying agents nowadays than there were 10, 15 years ago. And they add massive value to buyers who want to find something that saves them time, adds expertise, but also finds them something off market and not widely available on Rightmove.
Yeah. When someone's going to spend 15, 20, 25 million, you're going to be pretty rich, but still probably one of the most expensive things you ever buy. It's like you think about some of the other sectors, the amount of advice you'd get into whether that's the right sector to go for.
I would actually say that the higher you go in value, the lower the percentage of your wealth you're spending. So someone buying a £30 million house, if you buy a £1 million house, it's probably 95% of your wealth.
Everything you can afford.
99, probably 102.
Yeah.
But if you buy a £30 million house, it could well be, it's nowhere near 90%. It's probably 30%. And those people will have multiple properties. It'll all be done in cash. But when you're at that level, you have a lot of advisors helping you with your wealth globally. There's a lot of tax advice that gets taken. There's a lot of money all over the world in different investments. So they're very used to getting advice and they've got a good team around them typically. So they will often have a buying agent involved and we will know the buying agent really well.
So would you say that a large part of it is also the network of knowing the buying agents and then respecting and vice versa? Because
there's a huge amount of trust and relationship.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, it's an important part of the market.
So when you have something that's off market that comes on at some crazy price point, you'll typically either reach out to your own network of people that looking specifically for that, and you'll reach out to your buying network to see who's looking for something, who's got a client looking for something in that realm.
Yeah, there's a wide variety of reasons why someone would want it off market. A lot of them are very private. A lot of them are quite they don't have to sell it. They're quite discretionary.
Yeah. I guess they don't want their photos and floor plan all over the internet.
They don't want them on Rightmove. Absolutely not. Yeah. And they're very nervous about friends finding out. They're very nervous about business colleagues. Why are they selling? Are they selling their business? Are they moving abroad? What's happening? So there's a lot of confidentiality, and typically we'll reach out to we have a list of 1,000 buying agents that we deal with on a regular basis, but the people that deal with properties over 20 million are much slimmer, and we know them all very, very well. We know exactly who they're looking for and what they're looking for at all times.
Sure.
So we will know who to approach from a buying agency perspective, but also from our own network.
Okay.
And because we've been around for 45 years, there are a lot of buyers that do contact us to make sure they're aware of the properties that may be for sale, maybe we can get into on a one-off viewing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, a lot of the off-market things, it's not a straight, someone will say, I want to sell my house within the next 3 months. It's, I'm looking to sell in the next year or 2 years, try and source me a buyer.
Sure. Okay.
And a lot of those buyers aren't looking. So, we have a huge database of our sort of network, and we'll be looking out for, we'll know that someone's bought their house for 20 million 5 years ago, their kids have grown up, they've got a bit bigger, they may want a little bit more space, a bigger garden. So we'll then approach those people to see if they're interested in looking at something that might suit.
It's like I said in the intro earlier, that a lot of the stuff that you guys have sold, over the years. I mean, some of the stuff is truly iconic pieces of real estate, that come on the market every 10, 20 years. And so you can imagine someone be pretty lucky to be looking right at that right time. People just think, right, I want to buy that, I'll have it, and money's no object.
I mean, I think for the, average, I mean, we sell things every, from $500,000 up to 100 million and more. The properties that, the sort of 1 to 5, 1 to 7, they sell more regularly. Little 1, 2 beds, 3 beds, there's more turnover of that stock. People are upgrading, downgrading, moving abroad. When someone buys a 8 to 20 to 40 million pound house, it's sort of generational. So you can be waiting 30, 40 years.
Right.
And my brother Jake, he built a relationship with someone that's, it's been going for 15 years, and they're now considering selling their house, and
right.
And so it's a very, very long term relationship business.
It's a people business.
And I think the estate agents have an absolutely terrible reputation countrywide. And the biggest thing for us is to try and gather someone's trust, because they come and meet you, and the first thing is they naturally don't want to trust you because of the reputation that agents have nationwide. And I think with reputation takes a long, long time to build. And hopefully we've done that over 45 years and aim to continue doing that.
Definitely. So what's the most expensive property you've sold?
We've sold quite a few properties in the last few years at around 40 million.
Okay. Can you tell me what they are? Houses? Boltons?
Houses, all under NDA.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, all of those are, one of them was very much a secondary, probably their fifth home. They've very rarely used it in the last couple of years. Other people are main home, but renovating. And as you know, renovations are taking longer and longer. So, haven't even started building yet.
Yeah.
Gone through 2-3 years of planning. So the properties that are in good condition, brand new to move into, are the ones that are more in demand at the moment. And actually interesting, it'd be interesting to see what you find, but with the kind of wealth that we're looking at on that end of the spectrum, a lot of these buyers, time is money. And if it's going to take you 4 or 5 years to renovate a house, would you rather pay a little bit of a premium for for a house that's been completely renovated, and your kids are 4 now, they'll be 8, 9, 10 by the time you've finished. And so we found in the last few years, particularly with building prices going up and complications around planning
and this is building consent,
that
approval,
people are really jumping at the houses that are ready to move into. Unless they've got a very long term view.
I don't blame them. And since if you've got kids as well, like my perspective changed massively. Back in the day, I think, I'd never move into something finished. Now, anything that can make my life easier, we'll get back onto the whole kids things in a bit. But when did you become MD at Russell Simpson?
I have spent 15 years in sales, and last March I became managing director.
Okay,
So
congrats.
just on a year.
So how's it changed your...
I mean, it's completely different. I don't think there's any way I could have done it without having the experience I've had. I think I've been very fortunate. Me and my siblings have been very fortunate to start a career in estate agency and be exposed to. My first viewing was for a house at 15 million at the age of 21, and so we were exposed to incredible property people, in terms of buyers and sellers, but also our peers. We were the youngest by 20 years.
Sure.
And so the relationships we built then and the experience we gathered selling to the higher level properties have been really valuable.
It was definitely like, back then, definitely a much more an old boys club, the agency, if you look like
Still
that.
a little
15,
bit of it.
I'm sure it is, yeah, but not quite as much.
No, not
But
quite as
15,
much.
20 years ago,
Yeah.
15 years ago, I remember everyone we dealt with during starting was like in their 50s, 60s. It was all who you know, and yeah, it was nothing like it is today.
And it felt, when I was 21, dealing with, all of my peers were 45 plus. It was quite intimidating. It was quite. I felt,
Yeah.
it was strange, but I mean, I've moved around within the business. I think haven't worked in lettings, sadly. Wish I had, but I've worked in all 4 of our sales departments.
What 4 departments are there?
So we have 2 offices. One based in Chelsea that focuses on Chelsea, South Ken, Knightsbridge, Belgravia.
Yeah.
And then one based in Kensington, but focusing on Kensington, Notting Hill, Holland Park, Bayswater.
Okay. And the Chelsea one's is a new office?
Chelsea one. Well, we've had one office for 42 years.
Anderson Street.
For 40 years, Anderson Street.
Yeah.
We were in there for 37 years.
Again, pretty unique. That was like a literal office.
Yeah, it was a townhouse.
It was a townhouse.
It's a listed townhouse.
The red door.
With a red door.
Yeah.
That was iconic, and my dad was pretty shocked when we all discussed about moving into a new office. But we've moved to an office in Sydney Street, which is probably about the same size, 2,000 square feet, but one level.
Yeah.
And we've got 20 people in there now, so 15 salespeople being on one floor is just so much more.
Yeah.
So much more dynamic, and the communication's much better between different sales departments and the lettings department and the marketing department. So in Chelsea we have sales team 0 to 5 million, and then 5 million and above, and the same in Kensington.
Okay.
The Kensington office was our new office that started 5 years ago, and I started that with my sister-in-law Hattie, Jake's wife.
Yep.
And we started in a serviced office with 2 desks.
Yeah. Where is it? The one in Kensington?
It's in Kensington Square behind Whole Foods.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So we've just moved in August last year. We moved to there.
Okay.
On a permanent base.
So how many viewings are you doing across those 2 offices?
This month we have done about 700
Bloody hell.
in sales.
In sales alone,
Just in
700
sales, yeah.
viewings.
So yeah, we're pretty busy.
Yeah.
Pretty busy. I mean, the sales people are doing anywhere between 600 and 1,000 viewings a year. So they're very, very busy, meeting lots and lots of people, seeing lots of property. So yeah, it's busy.
Yeah. Is that a sign of the market, or is that just how the day-to-day is it?
That's pretty much day to day. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very seasonal. So January is a bit quieter for viewings.
Sure.
It gets busier and busier as you go through the year. But we have 3 seasons. One season is January to Easter. Next is Easter to summer. And the next is September to Christmas. It's completely dominated around the school holidays.
Yeah, right.
So anyone with kids is not.
Private school holidays.
Yeah, they're not doing viewings during those times.
No.
And they're always often on holiday. So we get very busy when that's finished and the kids have gone back to school. People usually calling us in to see new properties, and then we start showing and getting them agreed and getting them exchanged.
So as MD, how much do you still focus on actual sales opposed to business stuff?
I'm not that involved in the sales part anymore. We've got about 20 people in sales. I think the part that I've been really I've loved sales, but the part I was really interested in was the sort of operational business side of things. And what we probably, none of us, all of us studied art history at uni. We haven't got experience in, none of us got MBAs or any of that. So we're all learning from experience. It's been amazing to be so close up to running a business from such an early age, and seeing how my dad's done it, seeing how we've been doing it for years. I think what we probably didn't or underestimated was by growing. I mean, we grew because we were so busy. We had too many viewings to do. We couldn't give the service we really wanted to provide. So we hired some brilliant people. Brilliant people brought more business in, and we needed more people, more marketing, more operations. And the part that I've really enjoyed for the last year, 2-3 years, has been reorganizing the processes behind the scenes, which is probably the most people's boring part, but for some reason I love it.
Okay.
And setting the vision for the company and ensuring that the leaders in our business are going down that route.
Yeah. What about recruitment? How'd you find that?
I love recruitment.
Do you?
I love it. I love all the weird things. I love all the stuff a lot of people don't like. But I mean, I must have interviewed 200, 300, 400 people last year. And I just absolutely love it.
So what does it take to become an agent at Russell Simpson? What would you look for?
I think the biggest thing for us is a cultural fit.
Yeah.
Someone that's going to get on with the team, has very similar values and ethos as we do. Everything we do is focused around our client and their best interest at heart. So
no matter how difficult.
I love the difficult ones.
Yeah.
That's the
not
challenge.
Boring.
That's the challenge.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of short-termism with agency. A lot of agents get paid, by the deal. So you need to be doing the deal to get paid. And we are very, very focused on long-term relationships. So regardless of whether we're going to get paid a quick fee, we want to give the right advice.
Sure.
So we've done a lot of thinking around how we remunerate people to ensure that they are incentivized to give the best advice and the most long-term advice. I'm sure our employees will say we haven't got it perfectly right yet.
Yeah. So your structure is more, it's less commission focused.
It's very commission focused, but there's a bit of a pool element.
Yeah.
And there's a structure in place where we really try and act as teams rather than individuals. And I'm fascinated by the broker model that Sotheby's and other people are using. It definitely seems to create a lot of hunger. But I'm a little bit nervous about the team ethos. The people hiding things from each other.
Absolutely.
I think a team is much more powerful than an individual.
Yeah.
And that's our kind of ethos. Is our client going to get the best service if it's one person? How is that person going to manage those properties when they're sick or on holiday? Or
especially when you've got such a pool of experience to pull from, rather than it's just one guy, one superstar agent trying to.
Yeah, I think the team is just so valuable. So that's. Someone with a team ethos, it's fun and it's a nice sort of family environment, but it's very hardworking and we expect a lot. We want to be the best.
And how long can you keep that going? Because it gets to a certain size. I mean, you got like 30 odd people now, how long can you keep that family element, right?
It's a big challenge. That's a big challenge. I mean, we rebranded a year or so ago and we interviewed a select few people to see what they thought of us from the outside. I mean, it's really difficult when I've only ever had one job, only ever worked in this business.
Yeah.
And all of them came back and said, the thing we think of Russell Simpson the most is the family element. And so we've lent into that. We were all a bit nervous before, do we lean into that? What do we focus on? And so we have lent into that a bit more. I think that culture, that ethos, that sort of, that long-term, genuine advice, sort of more advisory advice than just try and get the deal done, is really important. And I think that people might come to us for many different reasons. I think we've upgraded our marketing and the way we present properties, which we're really proud of, and I think is pretty good. Some people come to us for that reason.
Well, you got great social media, I think.
Social media is pretty good.
Yeah.
We get a lot of referral business from repeat business. And I think, people coming to us ultimately want to receive a brilliant service.
Yeah.
And if they're receiving a brilliant service from me or one of my siblings or someone else, I don't think they really mind as long as it's fantastic. So we have a lot of focus on that. Fantastic customer service, great communication. Can never call your client enough.
Yeah. So true.
And you'll know that from first-hand experience.
Yeah. No, it's true. So from, so ultimately, being the MD, that keeping that dynamic, it sits with you, right? Keeping that family-esque vibe going through, within it, whilst at the same time, competing with all the big boys out there.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of learning as we go along, and we don't sleep. We think about this all the time. We want to keep making it better, and
because when you're out going to an appraisal and you're meeting a client who's interested in selling their £20 million house, and they've got you guys coming and someone else coming from whatever, and it's a very different, the world is different nowadays as well. So many younger people, with so much wealth, and it's them, for them to choose, think, who am I going to trust with selling this and getting the most money and doing it the right way? Do you find that is changing as well? Or people that think, I want to see it's all about social media and social media followings, and
I think I think a lot of people will. I mean, the sensible way to work out who to appoint as your agent is to see how many other properties they have that are similar. Ask them how big their network and database is for how they're going to find the buyer, and are they going to present my property beautifully and represent me genuinely? Are they genuinely going to care about me and the price that they achieve for me? And I think that.
And trust, like you said before.
And the trust. So the trust part, we get referred a huge amount by people in the industry, people we've sold for, people we've let for. That's a huge part of our business, as well as repeat business.
Yeah.
And that trust is, if you refer me or I refer you, I'm going to put a great amount of weight on that. And I think that's a huge part of particularly upper end of the market. And what's exciting about our growth in the last 3 or 4 years is that we are now selling and letting a huge amount of the properties in the area. So if you come to us, yes, we're a nice family business with some nice marketing material, but we've also got a lot of stats to follow up.
Yeah.
That we're very, very involved, if not most involved in some categories.
And how important is things like your social media nowadays for you then?
I mean, our social media could be a lot better. It's good. It could be a lot better. I think people can find us in many, many different ways, and it's still word of mouth.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, there'd be sales boards everywhere, and nowadays you've got no idea that you've just sold the house next door for somebody off market, etc.
I think that's and that the off market part, we're not allowed to post a lot of the stuff off market. There's a lot of, again, it's a lot of relationships. It's if I know you and I know the house 3 doors down from you is just sold, I'll give you a call and let you know.
Yeah.
And you'll be amazed that it sold for X many % more than you bought yours for.
Sure.
I think social media, I think awareness of our brand is, and everyone's brands are important for them.
Yeah.
So hopefully, if you see our brand popping up with nice things regularly in, nice ways, you might think of us and
sure
have fond memories and maybe recommend us.
Sure.
Or maybe want to use us.
So how many siblings do you have
5.
in the business? Yeah, no, but working in the business right now, or let's say family members.
Family members. There are 9 of us.
And who's the best
at what?
Sales.
I can't answer that.
Lettings.
I mean, my dad is the most remarkable person with people I've ever met.
Yeah.
He'll come back from the petrol station. He's filled up his car, and he comes back in and he says, "Here's a contract. I've met someone at the gas pump, and they want to sell our £5 million house."
Yeah.
He makes friends with everybody. He is the most generous, kind, lovely guy. With his best interests are the last interests that he will put his best interests last out of everybody.
That is unique in the
it's unique
in the sector.
He's got a really magic skill that I think probably 3 or 4 people in the industry have.
I've met him a couple of times. I always felt privileged when he came along on an appraisal or reviewing. I thought, oh, okay, we've done,
Lord Allen.
Allen's here to, he's worthy of his time.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very, very humble guy. So he'd be shocked to hear you say that.
Yeah.
And he hasn't had a day off in 45 years.
So what's he doing now in the business?
Very much sales.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Loves being with people. So he's based in our Chelsea office, but he's having been in the industry for 50 years. He knows a lot of people. He's given good service to people for 50 years. So a lot of people come back to him, like him, trust him. He's definitely our secret weapon, and he's just a lovely guy.
Yeah.
And everyone else has. I think what I love about hiring and about the people part of the business is everyone has different skills and different interests and different passions, different loves. And one of the questions I love asking people in interviews is what part of their job do they love the most? And everyone answers differently. Okay. Some people love communicating with clients, love it. Other people really don't like doing that. They just love being with buyers. Others love the thrill of the offers and the negotiations, which other people really don't like. So everyone has very different skills and interests, and I think we're still at the size where we can really tailor everyone's jobs to ensure that they are 100% doing what they're passionate about. Typically, sales and lettings people, salespeople more than lettings, aren't that interested in the admin. They're not interested in the contracts or the paperwork. So we have a great system behind the scenes that helps take all of that away from them, so they can be out.
All the conveyancing.
Well, the conveyancing's all done by the lawyers.
The deal running.
The deal, they like the deal running. They like being on the phone talking to people.
Yeah,
they don't
keeping
like
in touch.
Getting the contract signed, the anti-money laundering arranged, the writing property descriptions.
Yeah,
they don't like that.
No.
So we have an amazing ex-Times writer who writes all of our text for us. So he calls up one of the negotiators and asks them about the house, and he'll write this beautiful description about the house to save them a bit of time.
I'm just while you said that, thinking back in some of the property adverts that I've seen, where it's like a £10 million house and it's just full of misspellings and just half sort of, it's just,
Well, estate agent, it's a land for dyslexia.
Yeah. Well, I meant more the fact that they just didn't really give it the care and attention, and taking time to properly describe it, and vendors are always proud of their house, their homes, and always everyone does think their house is the best, so but sometimes it is funny to see how that doesn't always get translated by the agent out, to sort of properly advertise all the bits and pieces about it.
Well, we keep trying to put ourselves in the shoes of a seller, and actually every time you sell, personally, it really hits home the things that happen to you in that experience that are either great or you feel a bit let down, and people won't give us that honest feedback on a day-to-day basis. So we're really trying. We love feedback. Anyone that wants to give us feedback, I'm absolutely delighted. But that stuff you're talking about, we really try and take care and attention over. The descriptions and the photography and the time that we give people. But we also understand that we need to get a job done, and the people that are best to do that.
And you're working for the seller.
Seller.
Which is also something difficult in the agency world, because people always feel, when you're always, in a way, you're representing the buyer, right? In many ways too, because you're assisting the buyer with finding something that they want to buy, and answering their questions on the basis of what they're buying. But the difficulty is that you're actually beholden to the seller, really, because he's the one who's paying the fees and has signed the sales contract.
Well, and I mean, it'd be great to talk to you afterwards about this. But that's it, how you're saying that. You've had most experience of agency probably from the sell side. So it sounds like you've experienced that, and I suspect other sellers experience that. And that it's what's really tricky is we meet the seller day one at the house, talk about the price and the fees and the strategy, And then we don't see the seller again, really. We chat to them weekly. We send them updates on email and feedback weekly, at least. But we spend months with the buyers, and we're in the seller's house with the buyers 4, 5, 6 hours, getting to know them. The trust with them is really important. And we all salespeople love the relationships. So it's very important that the seller feels like we're on their side. And that's all we care about. We can't sleep at night if people feel like we're not on their side, but I'm sure that sellers do feel that. And it would be fascinating to try and dig deeper into that and understand how we can make sellers feel even more comfortable with us, that we are genuinely got their best interest at heart.
I think it's totally just a trust thing, which has always been, what everyone said about Russell Simpson, was the trust element, that you felt like, you definitely felt like they had your back.
That's nice to hear.
Yeah, which is important.
And I think hopefully that's why we get referred. People genuinely feel that we've, for me. I mean, my mum sold a house 3 years ago, and Leo, my brother, was really integral in helping her get that through. And when you go through an experience like that, that's how we want to feel for every sale. It's like your mum's house. You're so protective of her. You care so much about the money's important, but actually quite often it's emotional. Someone might have died and the widow's selling their house, or the kids have left home and they've been there for 25 years, and it's a very emotional stage. Often the money is not the key factor. So yeah, that is absolutely how we feel about it, and hopefully that's why people like to refer us, because they know that they can genuinely trust us.
And it's not always about the money, is it either? Some I do find that there are a lot, especially in maybe older parts of London, but the older
sort of Chelsea's.
Yeah, exactly, where people really are quite interested in who's actually going to buy their house. It's not just about the top price.
Yeah, I mean, we've had the last 18 months ago, we had 2 offers on the table, one at 12.5, one at 11.5, and he took the 11.5.
Really?
Because of buyer profile.
Nothing to do with payment terms or...
Both cash.
Really?
Both quick exchange, quick
£1 million.
completion. £1 million difference.
What was the difference?
He's lived in his neighbourhood for 30 years. He's got family living on the street. He's got best friends that he's developed. His kids are friends with the other kids on the street, and he's moving just down the road. So he was very, very keen for the people that were moving in, that were like-minded, that were going to be there for a long time. Yeah. They weren't going to be digging a basement and then moving out the next week. They wanted a genuine, nice family who were going to get on with everyone and be part of the community.
Oh, lucky for that family then.
Pretty rare. To be honest, that is pretty rare.
Yeah. But
it's an example of, people do really care about who's buying, and I think that I think buyers can put themselves in great situation if they understand who the seller is, what's important to them, and play by that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of buyers can come in quite heavy-handed.
Yeah.
Quite finance sort of. They'll have a spreadsheet and they'll have the comps list and actually the seller wants the best price, but they also want someone that's kind and calm, and everyone's different, but a lot of sellers do want that.
Yeah, especially when you're someone with 50 mil to spend, you do feel like Billy Big Bollocks coming in, and you realise that maybe these people actually don't really care, about one bit about that,
Well, and most of the time, both people on either side are as wealthy as each other.
Yeah.
I think one of the most fascinating parts about the industry for me is that I think if you're selling commercial property, you've got one person on one side and one person on the other. Both are ridiculously good at spreadsheets, really good at numbers.
Yeah,
and
detailed yield.
They can all work out the yield.
Yeah,
and the negotiation is mathematical and economic and business.
Yeah.
Whereas for us, we'll have private equity numbers person on one side, often the man. I don't want to stereotype too much, but often the man.
Yeah.
Wife's usually got 3 young kids and is living in a little rental or even a hotel in Mayfair. Emotionally so involved in this property. They're completely conflicted. The husband wants numbers, the wife wants emotion. And then you'll have a seller who is equally different
Yeah.
So you can often find a private equity buyer and an emotional seller, and they just clash.
Yeah.
So that's the challenge that we have to.
And they end up fighting over a rose bush in the front garden
Yeah.
that they're
The curtains.
supposed to leave in the sale. Yeah.
The curtains or the I mean the laundry equipment is our typical. That's the biggest fight we have. White goods.
White goods. People think they're standard. I'm taking it. People think.
Yeah, we have £15 million houses where people want to take the laundry equipment, and the buyer is about to pull out because they're not leaving them.
We had I know someone recently. It's a billionaire family, and they've got a second home. They bought as a long-term rental, and they were going to rent it out to this private equity guy. And they've got he came in, offered a great rate for it, and he said, I'm going to take it. And she said, yeah, I've got this beautiful this little garden in the back, and it's important to me that a gardener comes once a month and just checks on it, because one day I'll live there. That's important to me. He's like, fine. And they signed all the paperwork, and I think he paid the deposit, which was, £80,000 and all that. And then they would do the negotiations, and then he said, oh no, I'm not paying for that gardener to come in. And the gardener was like £100 every month. And they just said, they tore the contract apart. Yeah, they just said, that's the kind of mentality you've got. See you later.
Well, that's just a great example. I think on the letting side, it's much more important, because it's still your home, and you want this respect. And but yeah, those emotional. It's very emotional.
Yeah, it's very emotional.
Very emotional. We're sort of therapists.
Yeah, there's two parts.
Psychologists.
There's two parts to your brain, isn't there? I read somewhere that theory that there's the part of your brain which goes around, which makes decisions about day-to-day basis, things that you like, you emotionally connect to, so you like that, you choose that. And there's the rational side, which is all just numbers and theories, and it takes you longer to make a decision because you have to process it and whatever. And when people go in and view a house, one person, like the example you were giving there, they'll look at they'll look in the kitchen and they'll say, I can imagine my kids running around here, or eating breakfast here with my kids, or having a glass of wine over there with my husband, or whatever. And that's the front of your brain, or that part of the brain. And then you just make that decision where you think, I'm going to spend 10 million or whatever on this because that does that. And sometimes it's only afterwards in that they start to go back and think, actually, I should consult the second part of my brain and start looking deeply into the numbers, and am I doing the right thing and whatever. And that sometimes is a theory that the longer the sale takes, the lot more it shifts from that frontal, whatever it is, to the other part of the brain where you're thinking more rationally.
Interesting.
I don't know if you've had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about those two parts of the brain. We love dealing with the first part of the brain.
Yep.
For our clients, it often gathers the best results for them. Every buyer is very different. I mean, I love talking to the people about the rational side. And I love talking with people about the emotional side.
Yeah.
We recommend that sellers take a lot of time and attention on preparing the paperwork with their lawyer, so that the time for that time is short.
Yeah.
And if your cash and your property you're buying is freehold, it can be very, very quick, 2, 3, 4 days, up to a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And the shorter that time period, the better.
Yeah.
We don't like things running over Christmas.
No, definitely
People
not.
have a lot of time to think.
Yeah. They're on holiday somewhere and they're thinking about something completely different, and that impulse, not the impulse, but that desire weakens, right? And you start to think about all kinds of other stuff.
Catastrophes that could happen.
And people end up dying and all that kind of stuff. So what's the hardest thing for you then, like on a day-to-day basis?
On a day-to-day basis?
I mean, I know you got 3 kids.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest challenge for me is, and it was really heightened during lockdown, is finding balance.
Yeah.
We are all very hardworking. We absolutely love our jobs. We're all very ambitious. But when you start to have kids and a family, you can't have it all. And I've now got a 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and a 10-month-old, which has kept us pretty busy for the last few years. And the last 3 to 5 years have been the most chaotic, busy, intense, and exciting time at the business for me. But I've also had little kids and my wife, and there have definitely been moments where I've neglected them. Mm-hmm. I've not been the best dad or husband I could be. And the business results that came out of, 2020, 2021, we increased in size by about 120% in 1 year.
Wow.
And the market had a lot to do with that, but I think a lot of the changes we made were really beneficial.
Yeah.
And so you look back on that time period, or I look back on that time period, and I'm very proud, and I'm really grateful for what we've all achieved together as a sibling family. But I also look back on it and think, I didn't spend any time with my wife and my kids. When I was with them, I wasn't present. I was I was a bit angry. I was a bit I wasn't there. And so I think looking back on that a couple of years ago, I realized I've got to find some balance where I can love my job, feel challenged, feel like we can make a success of it, create something we're all proud of, but also not lose these important years with my kids and my wife. So I feel like I've done as best a job I can in the last 2 years.
How do you make it work now then?
Well, the best thing I did was I speak to a therapist business coach every week for an hour.
Okay.
And that's been the best investment I've ever made.
Really?
It's a weekly moment of peace where I can reflect. I can talk to someone who is there to listen to me and with expert background, and I can try and process what really is important in life. And instead of thinking about stuff once a year, which people tend to do in January, you're thinking about stuff every week. I was fascinated on LinkedIn. January is a fascinating time because everybody comes out and they write these amazing, heartfelt, emotional posts about what they've reflected on and how they want to be different this year. And I did the same. And 6 weeks later, I thought, God, I wrote that. It was really emotional. I felt really honest about it, but I've completely messed up. I haven't done any of the stuff I said I was going to do.
Yeah.
And this meeting I have with this lovely guy who I've been seeing now for 3 years enables me to reflect on how I'm feeling, which every week is different. How I'm dealing with challenges. What are my priorities?
And he holds you accountable.
Yeah, and he enables me to. He creates a space where I'm accountable to myself, and it's been so valuable. It's been so valuable. I think the change in role to managing director was great for me. I think sales is a. I mean, I think when I started in the sales role, I would say I was very introverted, and sales was not natural for me at all. But I overcame that fear and I got better. And I would say after 15 years, I was pretty good at it. But I think my real interests they lie in this area of strategy, operations, business development. And actually, I think that's what probably led me to wanting to push for this role and take my involvement in the business, taking it forward in that part.
So did you have to fight for the role?
I didn't have to fight for the role. You asked me how involved I am in sales, and the answer is really, we have some amazing people in sales.
Yeah.
And we have some amazing people in lettings. And until 2 years ago, we had no one in marketing, we had no one in finance, we had no one in HR operations. And that was the part of the business that needed most attention. And so that's where it naturally took me. And I felt that those were naturally my interests or skills or areas that I wanted to challenge myself. And I felt that could help the business as well.
Yeah.
So for me, it's been great. Last 2-3 years have been challenging, but great.
So what's next for Russell Simpson?
What's next? That's a good question. We're very ambitious. I mean, I'm the eldest of the 6 kids. I'm 37.
Okay.
Got a long career left.
Yeah.
And we want to continue putting our clients first. A great problem that we've had in the last couple of years is that we've been too busy. We've had too many viewings to do. We want to continue providing the best service. So if we get too busy and we haven't got enough people doing a good job, we're going to let that slip.
Yeah.
That's why we've grown. and hopefully the momentum is the more interactions you have with people and they think you've done a good job, the more people want to use you.
Yeah.
So we want to carry on growing.
Yeah.
There are some areas that we feel are the best next steps for us, which probably look like improving our lettings side of the business, which we've been working on very hard for the last 2 or 3 years, but there's still lots of growth and areas for improvement and growth in that area. We've got a great team to do that now.
So will you open more offices? Is that on the radar? It's not so important. It's like
I think we opened the Kensington office because it was just logistically to get there. I mean, it doesn't sound far, but if you're doing if you're doing 300 viewings a month, you waste a lot of time, 20 minutes up, 20 minutes back.
And neither of your offices, they haven't got a
shop front.
A shop front either. They're proper offices, right?
Proper offices.
There's no marketing benefit from them.
There's no marketing benefit. It's a practical benefit of being in the area, close to clients, close to properties. I think there probably is another office in us, but for the time being, I think lettings and probably more concerted effort in Knightsbridge and Belgravia. We do a lot of business there, but we do a lot more business in Chelsea and South Kent. Yeah. So it's a subtle change we can make in the next year or so to keep pushing out into that area.
I think from an outsider's perspective, it's like there's nothing really that the great thing about you guys is that it's just been this way for so long, and there's so much noise and so much change out there that by maintaining what you guys have and that unique history that you have is only going to compound, and add more and more and more where things become more fast, well, not more fast paced, but more ever changing and more, more international with the sort of brokerage model. It's all, there's something to be said for just having your head down and going with what you've always been doing, and it's also very English.
We're a very English business.
English, yeah.
I mean, we really haven't spent much time looking at other people. I mean, we're very much look at ourselves. How can we get better? Yeah. Listen to our clients. It's very interesting to see what people are doing, but I agree with you. I think we have to be aware of what's happening and changes that could really affect our market. But ultimately, we just want to keep doing a good job. Yeah. And what we've seen over many years is that the more times you do a good job, the more people want to come back to you.
Absolutely. Lastly, mate, let's just talk about the market.
The market.
It was absolute shitfest after Liz Truss last year.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
So Liz Truss, that was a disaster. I mean, one of our busiest, I think sale agencies' busiest market will be that September to December period. Our biggest, historically our best month of the whole year is December. Liz Truss came in September. Yeah. Destroyed all confidence. Yeah. And it was
pulled all lines of funding.
Everything got pulled. It was a disastrous market. The confidence, I mean, our market's completely confidence-based because a lot of people do have the funds if they want to spend it. So it's whether they do want to spend it and they're confident to do it. So that September through to December 2022 was not great. It was compounded by inflation increasing, interest rates increasing and the prospect of them increasing a lot more, plus the wars that are happening. So last year, that was a terrible 3 months, end of 2022. 2023, there was just a lot of questions and confidence issues. We saw about 100% more properties for market appraisal
than normal.
Okay. We probably brought to the market about 100% more properties than we usually do. But we also saw a lot of people change their mind and decide not to sell. So all in all, last year was, from a business perspective, it was actually quite similar, a little bit down, but quite similar to the year before, which was a great year. But it was a tough year. There was a lot of uncertainty. Sellers were pretty nervous about interest rates increasing. I think now inflation's come down a bit. Interest rate from the banks is stabilizing, and they're talking about it coming down a little bit.
Yeah. Confidence is on the way up.
That definitely helps confidence. I mean, last February, which was a few months after Liz Truss, we did 700 viewings in sales, and we had 13 offers and we agreed 3 properties.
Okay.
This February, we've done the same amount of viewing, 700. We've had 54 offers, up from 13 last February, and we've agreed 14 properties rather than 3. So that's a good sign, in my opinion, that there is a bit more confidence.
And what price band? Is that the whole price band?
Yeah, I mean, most of the stuff our real sweet spot is between 2 and 12, 13.
And mostly cash? Or
it's very varied. It's very varied. A lot of people do use debt. Last year there was a lot less debt because people had the cash and they decided not to use some of their cash rather than to get debt on it. There's most of it. There is an element of debt.
Okay. All right, mate. Bertie, thanks very much, bro.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, mate. This show is brought to you in partnership with the Better Home Company. The Better Home Company provides exceptional construction and aftercare for luxury projects across the UK and EU.